it's Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me today. I am doing a really fun project. It is a Bohemian girl with flowers in her hair. I'm calling her Boho Girl, and it should be a lot of fun. It's very simple. I'll show you two different ways of doing the face. If you want to do some eyes, you can do that. And if not, you can just do her eyes closed. And it's a little bit easier version. We're using charcoal pencils, but I will show you how to do it with paint as well. So if you don't have charcoal pencils, you don't have to use those. You could also use colored pencils or something like that. So really, it's super easy. I'll also have a traceable, so if you don't want to draw it, you can just grab the traceable on my Thankful Art group. So let me zoom in just a little bit here. There we go. So I'm going to start out just with the basic drawing of a face, and I have pre-sketched it on my canvas panel here. I've coated it with Unbleached Titanium. So before I get too far in though, I wanted to say this is a live show, so my husband Mark is here helping me.
Hey everybody. He's
taking chat questions, so if you have any questions for me during the show, when we get a minute, we will try to fit those into the show.
Yep.
So be sure to put them in block letters, and he'll reply if he got your question, and we'll just ask it whenever I get a chance. So
yeah, there's a little bit of a delay between when we see it and when then you see the answer.
Right, right. So, and if you are new to my channel, welcome. I'm really glad to have you join me. I've been painting for almost 30 years now, and I just really love painting. I really love encouraging beginners to try out this art and feel comfortable about it. You'd be able to create something that they're proud of, you know, because I know when you're learning something, it can be a little bit scary. So I kind of try to take the scariness and the mystery out of it and show you step by step from start to finish how to do a whole project. So anyhow, glad to have you with us. If you want to join in the chat, you can subscribe to my channel and it'll let you chat with us during the show. So I'm going to set this aside. And I just wanted to say also that, so I covered my canvas with Unbleached Titanium. This is a 12 by 16 inch canvas panel. And you can use regular canvas, or you can use paper for this. That would work fine too. A thicker paper is probably better. When I did this one, this is in my mixed media paper. So mixed media paper or watercolor paper are probably your best bets. Bristol paper also works. Just a thicker paper that'll do well with paint. Thinner papers can warp and have problems when you paint on them. I put her face a little bit off center, so if you kind of are drawing along with me today, you can sketch her on paper and then transfer it onto your canvas with some transfer paper. Trace out your drawing and transfer it on with that. So that's an option, or you can do what I did and just sketch straight onto your prepared canvas. Just use a light touch with your pencil and you should be fine. Have some Clorox baby or disinfecting wipes. These will erase pencil. So you won't have to use your eraser on it. If you have light lines, you can use an eraser, but sometimes it won't come off of a canvas. So those baby or the disinfecting wipes will completely erase your pencil lines. Also, if you transfer it, they will erase your transfer lines. So that's a quick little easy tip, and it'll save a lot of headaches. So it kind of takes the fear out of drawing on a canvas. I just wipe it off with clear water after I do the bleach wipes so that it doesn't leave any residue on my canvas. But so let's get started here on the drawing portion. How are we doing on chat today, honey?
Everybody's doing well. Everybody's doing well, and you know, people are just coming in and saying hi. So
awesome.
And okay. Thanks for the tip on the wipes, they say.
Yes, yes, it's really, really great. So I've just got a regular 2B pencil here. That's just your kind of normal standard drawing pencil. And I'm going to start out my face by doing a circle And if you want to, you can use your baby wipes or your disinfecting wipes. I keep wanting to call them baby wipes. You will want baby wipes too, because charcoal can be super messy. So you can use your pencil to draw a light circle. Let me zoom in just a little bit more on this, using a little bit smaller thing here. Okay, so I've got my circle here, and that's going to be the basic top part of the head. Then I'm going to do the chin by kind of drawing an egg, so making this into an egg shape. And depending on the shape of your face that you're drawing, you could make this, you know, chin a little bit wider. For men, your cheekbones will come out a little bit wider. So you can adjust this, but the top of the head is usually kind of this rounded area here. So I'm just very lightly drawing in my oval kind of egg shape there, right? Now, the eyes are going to be right in the middle of, let's go ahead and do our vertical line here. So we'll do a vertical line down the face. That'll help. I'm doing this very lightly so that I can erase it. So you may not be able to see it very well on the screen there. And I can turn it and just kind of measure with my pencil where I want my middle line to go. That's about right there. So that's my eye line. Seems really weird to leave this whole area up here free, right? To have the eyes so low on the face, but that's actually correct. And a lot of beginners, the reason their faces look a little bit weird is because they're putting their eyes way too high up. So that's where we're going to put our eyes. And your eyes are going to be one eye width apart. So I'm going to make a few little lines, just kind of measure where I think 1, 2, 3 marks that are pretty equal distance apart there, and leave about a half of a distance on either end. So this should be about half this length right here. Does that make sense? So one eye here, one eye here, one eye here, half and half. And I think that that looks pretty good. So for my eye, I'm going to do an almond shape. And depending on how wide open you want the eyes to be, you can exaggerate that. On my example that I did with the eyes open, I did her eyes really long, so they're a little bit wider than normal. This looks a little bit far apart, so I'm going to make them a little bit closer. That's about better. Okay, then right here, the eye is going to dip down and dip down right here. So there's like a little teardrop shape that happens there. Then the nose is going to be just on this middle line right here, this bottom part of the circle. So there's like a circle that happens here, and then 2 smaller circles on either side for the nostrils. And the nose will be the width of the space between the eyes. So if you go straight down from that mark, this will be the outside of our nose. And there's like a little, the nostril shape is kind of like a little teardrop that's flattened out. So there, and like that. That's about all we're going to do for our nose on this one. I'm doing a very simplified drawing, so you can get more detailed if you want to. You could even put like a little, a little bit mark on the top of the nose to give it a little bit more of a kind of a cute look. Let's go ahead and figure out where our eyes are going to go. So for these eyes that I did over here, if you noticed, I kind of didn't do the bottom edges, and I kind of left that whole part of the eye showing at the top. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of do an exaggerated eye for this one. So we're going to do our 2 circles. The top part of this circle is cut off by the eyelid up here. So make sure that you're cutting off the top of your circle at the top there. And the bottom is showing the whole thing. All right, then I'm going to erase just a little bit of this bottom section here to leave that open. All right, Then the pupils are going to be right in the middle, right there. And of course, if you wanted her looking a different direction, you could move these eyes, you know, to one side or something like that. But I'm going to do kind of a semicircle here and leave a little bit of a white spot. Now this is, I'm getting, you know, technical on this. This is if you were to draw this in, and you could probably put like a white dot here. So if you're going to do the eyes open on with your charcoal pencils, you could just draw in your pupil circles and then just put a little white dot in them. So, and then I'm just doing dark eyes. So I'm doing kind of a radial lines in toward the center. I kind of erased all my white lines there, sorry. Or my white, I erased my white spot, so it's going to look pretty dark. Let me see if I can get a little bit of a white spot going again. Just so they don't look like an alien. Just, there we go. Better. Okay. Like that, and then we'll do the same thing over here. Going nice and dark. If you are coloring this in, you can do the outer edge of the eye. This iris is a little bit darker than the inner usually, so keep that in mind. You can do a nice dark line like along that outer edge. Just try to get them about the same size. These are not the same size. I'm going to make this one a little bit longer. Looking at this one over here, I'm going to actually erase the bottom of that one. And if you wanted to, you could always use a, you know, circular stencil or any kind of tools like that that you wanted to make this a little bit easier. I'm all about, you know, making it the process easier, especially when you're learning. So use whatever tools and tricks that you want to make this fun for you. So I think that that's probably good. She looks huge. Her eyes look so big right now. So we're going to take down that top part by putting a nice dark line right along that top edge and maybe cut off part of that eye.
You're already getting a request for Bohemian aliens now.
Oh, gosh. Well, she does look like a little bit of alien-like, doesn't she? The eyelashes are going to kind of come off like wings here. Like I said, this girl is, you know, exaggerated, so we're kind of doing a exaggerated eye. This area is going to be shaded right in here. We'll do a little bit of a color, not that much, coming in. Maybe a couple of lashes coming down. And then that's about it for the eye. You're not gonna, you can shade this part a little bit too. I can do a few lashes that are, they kind of go almost straight up here and then start to angle out that way. She looks really weird. I did a lot better on my example girl. Oh well. I think I got a little happy with the lashes. Let me take those down a little bit. I think I'm going to take this in just a little bit right there. That's better. Okay, so we'll do the same thing on this side. Nice and dark. Come in here, shadow this area a little bit, shadow here. You can have a shadow right there. And kind of do like little wings. And lashes. Okay, her lashes aren't quite as crazy on this side. Okay, so not too bad, right? Then above it, you're going to put a line for the crease of her eyelid. Kind of mimics the line that you made for the eye. And that's about it. So if you wanted to color it in with your charcoal this way, you could even use colored pencil in the eye or some acrylics or something and do little white dots in the centers there, and you'd be good to go. So for our eyes, we are going to do them closed. I probably should have done this one closed. So along our eye, let me just do it down here. So along our eye line there, we would have our two marks where the top portion of the eye would be. In the bottom portion, this is the only part that we'll draw, is this bottom portion. And then you're going to do your lashes kind of the same way. These ones in the middle are sort of coming down. These ones are kind of coming in this way, and then they go straight and then back this way. And then instead of doing the semicircle at the top, you're just going to do kind of almost a straight line across like that, not as rounded. Okay, so when I do the girl and when we color it in, I'll show that better. But I wanted to do this part since we're not going to be using this. Okay, so now we've got our nose, and the bottom of the face here is going to be divided into 3 parts to the chin. So 1, 2, 3, right? This top one is going to be the middle of the mouth line. So we're going to do a little curved line there, and another one above that. Below it, just depends on how fat we want our lip. We're going to do a curve down. Okay, so three curved lines, 1 up, or 2 up, and then 1 down, like that. That's our basic mouth. Now we take the pupils and we come down straight down from kind of the inside corner of the pupil, and that's the corner of our mouth. So try to find that middle line of the mouth where that was, and do 2 little straight marks to mark out where the mouth is going to end. And we're going to curve our line up a little bit, back down, and back up. So she's got like a little smirk on her face. Up a little bit, back down, and back up. You can exaggerate that as much as you want. You could leave it just like that if you wanted to and have a pale lip. Now for the bottom part, the bottom part is going to be a little bit fatter than the top part. So you can kind of imagine a couple little circles here, and that might help you create those lines. They don't go all the way out to the end here. Then the same thing for this. These are going to have 2 smaller circles here and here for the top lip, and it's not as wide as the bottom lip. So you can make it a little bit flatter and come out just a little bit longer than the bottom lip. Depending on how pouty you want her lips, you can kind of adjust that however you want to. So that's the lips. Pretty easy, right? If you go step by step like this, it's really kind of takes the difficulty out of it. It's not that hard to accomplish. Then the lips are going to have some little lines coming up. This top lip will be darker. The bottom lip will have a little bit of shadow at the bottom here, and then most of this will be in our highlight. This part, this top of the lip is going to catch the highlight. You can do a little circle there, semicircle there for the bottom of the chin if you want to. That 3rd mark is kind of where the chin starts, or it can go a little bit higher even if you want it to. And then this is kind of a large circle here, so you kind of can feel out the chin. On a man, it might go a little bit wider. Our girl is going to have kind of a narrow face, so we're just going to bring her cheeks up like that. Then it'll come in just a little bit on either side of the eye. The ear will be on the outside of the eye here, so it will kind of angle down a little bit and sort of a rounded, and then it'll come down to about the nose. Just like that. So we can kind of give her some cheekbones right here, bring it out a little bit, bring it back in, and then round it out.
We have a question asking what kind of pencil you're using right now.
This is a Faber-Castell 2B. So any of your like school pencils are this 2B. 2B is the if you see H and B are the kind of labels that you'll see on pencils. The B means black, so this is a light black. The 6B would be a dark black, right? If you see 2H, the H would be the hardness, and the harder the pencil, the lighter it gets. So they start at the H's and they go down to the B's, and then they go. So the HB would be right in the middle, and then does that make sense?
Yeah. So like the pencils used in school are number 2 pencils.
Yeah, number 2 pencils are the 2B pencils. Okay. Mm-hmm. Yep, just any of your regular pencils. That's what I'm using today. So, and they're just kind of a nice lightness. They're not too hard, not too dark. Now I can erase some of my marks here if I want to. I gave her a little bit of a little bit of a mark here for that little. There's a little kind of teardrop shape that comes in under the mouth there. Okay, I'll go ahead and erase this too. Now for our eyebrows, we're going to have, you measure the nose, kind of right the tip of the nose to the bottom here. So I can even just use my pencil. So right to there, right? Then if I do it again, like that, I usually just use my fingers. It's a little bit easier. It doesn't get in my way as much. So right about there, that's where our eyebrows are going to be at. So there, the tip of the nose to the chin and the nose to the eyebrows are equal. Another way of doing it is coming down and kind of creating a hairline, and this will be a third, and a third. So 1/3, 1/3, 1/3. These should be equal parts and just a little bit down from the hairline. So that's another way of measuring it. I'm just going to put 2 lines here. Now, if you will take a diagonal line from the end of the eye out and kind of facing in toward the nose, it should kind of start at the middle of the mouth, kind of come up through the nose and out the eye, and that is where the end of our eyebrow will be. So you can do that on either side. So that's the end of our eyebrow. They're going to kind of curve up to that point and come down. Now, some people have kind of straighter eyebrows than others. They start about where the eye starts. So you can shape them however you want.
And what kind of eraser are you using there?
This is a tri-tip. I put the links to all of these different products. I went through this morning. That's why we were late, because I was getting so into looking through my Amazon Associates program. So I did find this eraser. I got mine at Hobby Lobby, but they did have it on Amazon too. So I put the link to it on Amazon. It's just a tri-tip eraser. It's basically any kind of white eraser is probably best. I use these ones too. I just like this one because it's got a little bit more of a point to it, although it's starting to get really dirty because when I used my charcoal the other day. So, but I find a white eraser is a little bit better for this kind of drawing. It doesn't get the marks that a pink eraser sometimes kind of leaves pink tones. So that's about it. That's all we're going to do on our girl's face. When we do the hair, we're going to come down from the hairline, so we're going to make a mark and make sure that all of our hair kind of comes from that point down towards the ears, right? So our girl is going to have her hair parted on the side, and it's going to come way up above the hairline because it's going to be kind of blowing to the side. And then I'll kind of have it parted here and coming down around, probably over her ear. So this ear is probably not going to be shown at all. Oh, I forgot to mention the neck comes from the outer part of the eye down. So outer part of the eye down on women. On men, it'll be closer to the jawline, closer to the ear. And then you can curve down, make it as long as you want. Where it curves is where you put the little dip. Whoops, where you put the little dip for her collarbone, and kind of 2 lines coming out like that. The collarbone is just kind of above where the curve happens. All right, so then we're going to bring our bangs down, kind of covering the face and around the sides of the face, and they're going to kind of come almost straight from the ear out, angled out, and some of the lines are going to kind of come down. And then these lines are going to kind of do an S shape like this and curve in and back into her face a little bit, like it's blowing on her face, and a few bangs kind of coming in. And that's about it. We're gonna, you know, keep it fairly simple. Then we'll put our flowers in kind of toward the top of her head here. So we're gonna kind of do the crown of flowers all up in here, kind of doing it in arc shape at the just above the top of the crown of the head. So here was the top of the head here. We kind of covered it with hair. So we're gonna put our flowers kind of all along that line there and just above it. All right, so not too bad. Oh, I forgot the inner eye line is the only part of the nose that I kind of really show. I came in from kind of in between the, if you kind of take a line from here down, I kind of came just inside of that and pointed it down at this point. So sort of start it, well, kind of start it right about here. So kind of come up a little bit in between the eye and the eyebrow, and then come down and kind of point it down toward the nose. But that's all the indication of the nose we're doing. We're not going to draw the whole thing in. All right, so pretty simple, right? Not too bad. Let's go ahead and color in our girl. Do we have any questions before?
The one question is, what is the advantage to using charcoal or just regular pencil?
I just like the look of it. That's my only thing. I like that it's kind of soft. It's sort of dreamlike, and that was sort of what I was going for with this Bohemian themed girl. So I need to tilt my camera up just a little bit. Sorry. So that's the only reason why I'm using charcoal. If you have markers, you could use markers. You could use paint for this, and I will color in a little bit with paint to show you how I would do that. So let's go ahead and let's do this girl. And I'll show you if I have a liner brush, and get out my paints here. I've got a black, and with the liner brush you just want to really thin down your paints quite a lot. Let me zoom back in a little bit. I'll do the eyebrow and the nose here, maybe a little bit of the eye. So with the liner brush, I like to hold it really close in, just like a pencil. And I will start in with just very small strokes. With this one, you can kind of make it look sketchy, so you don't have to be too careful. You always want to, especially with like these lashes and things, you always want to pull, your thickest line is going to be where your brush starts. So see how that's the thickest part? So when you're doing your eyelashes, you always want to start on the inside of your line, of your eye line, and pull out so that these outer areas of the eyelash are wispy. I think I bumped my mic, sorry.
That's okay.
So I would do like that. I would do a little line like that. I would do part of those lines, maybe a couple of little indications. We would do the outer part of the eye. If you wanted to do it in color, you could grab some blue or something like that and put that in. Thin that out. Actually, I need to.
We had a question asking, can you use oil pastels to color?
You can. The only thing that I've come across lately with the oil pastels is that I wanted her eyes to be pretty dark, so you can always go in and do them lighter if you want to. And I would just go ahead and leave my pencil marks showing there, unless you want to go ahead in and shadow that. You could use a little bit of like a light brown or gray here and just kind of shadow in the eye. You want to make sure that you get a little shadow along the top edge there. But what was the question again? Sorry.
Oil pastels?
Oh, oil pastels. The only problem with oil pastels is that you cannot varnish with them. I did not realize that, and I've been using them for a long time with my kids' classes, but they don't varnish well with acrylics. Like the varnish that you need for the oil pastels is not compatible with acrylics, apparently. So just note to self, if you are going to be using oil pastels, just know that you probably won't be able to seal it the way you would an acrylic painting. Okay, so then I would put a little dot here in the eye. And maybe put a little highlight on this side too, just a little something. And that's about all you'd have to do for the eye. Okay, so then you would basically do the same thing. Just go over your drawing lines with the liner brush. So everything that I do with the pencil will be the same. It'll just be with the instead of the liner brush, we'll just be using the pencil.
Excellent. Just want to say thanks to everybody who's joined us and coming in the last few minutes. They can hit like and subscribe. They can join in the chat if they have any questions for us. We've got a bunch of people in here chatting up, so great to have you with us today.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my girl. I went ahead and pre-drew her so that I got it just the way that I wanted it on my canvas here, so I didn't have to waste time doing that and making adjustments while I had you guys watching. But you saw the drawing portion the same. So I'm just going to take my charcoal pencil now and go over my lines. And the harder you press, the thicker your lines are going to be. So, and I don't, on the canvas here, it acts a little bit differently than on the paper. If you notice on the paper, it's a little bit smoother line. You don't get these pockets of white showing through where the canvas texture is showing. So if you wanted to, you could smudge this in a little bit just to get it down into the creases. So there, I'm going to do the eye. There's kind of that straight
Margaret
line
just
like
joined
that.
us.
Margaret Twilliger?
Yep.
Hey, Margaret. We were just talking about you. We were just talking about Memphis in May. I was trying to see if I wanted Mark to go with us next year. Margaret's my concert buddy. She and I like the same kind of music, so we get to go do music stuff together. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so kind of these middle lashes are kind of come straight down, and then they sort of start to fan this way just a little bit on the inside of the eye. Don't want to go too thick or too long with these inner lashes. They're a little bit shorter, then they get a little bit longer in the middle part of the eye. Oops, broke my pencil. Try to keep your hands out of the charcoal. That's the main thing. And I'm going to go back in and really scrub in a nice dark line right there. I want nice and dark where my eyelashes are. This charcoal pencil is not doing well for me on this canvas. It doesn't like the canvas. Now, one of the things that you'll notice is you'll start to get some little marks. Now, some of the time you can kind of get those off with just a little bit of a damp towel. If they don't come off that way, then you can use your bleach wipes. But that's kind of my last resort. My bleach wipes are kind of the last line of defense if I can't get it off with an eraser or by just wiping it with clean water. Because sometimes they will lift off the paint underneath if you press too hard with them, or if your paint's not cured. My paint's cured today, so it shouldn't really remove much of the, if any of the paint. Go a little bit faster here. Just really want to make sure that this area right here is nice and dark. And wherever those lashes touch are very, very dark. And there's a little bit of a, I don't know. I just like the look of a pencil line. There's something different about it than that you can't quite get with a brush sometimes. So there's just a little bit more of a softness and a little bit more of that kind of I don't know what it is exactly. If you're a fan of Impressionist art, the Degas does some gorgeous line work. I was looking at Picasso when I was coming up with ideas for the faces. I just really like how, is it making noises when I blow on this? Sorry.
You'll have to hold it up and blow away from you.
Okay.
But we do have a question asking if you could use watercolor pencils for doing this.
You could. The thing with watercolor pencils is that, you know, they're water soluble. So when you go to, you know, wet them down, they would bleed some. So you could do your coloring differently, but see, like with your eyelashes and things like that, they really wouldn't work because it would just kind of bleed into a mess. So so I probably wouldn't recommend it. I would recommend them though for the coloring portion if you wanted to color in using the watercolor pencils, like on the lip and the part that we're going to be doing. We're going to do some very, very, very basic coloring. We're not really getting too detailed into the coloring. On the bottom lip here, I'm just kind of doing some very short sketches. I'm not going as dark as I did on the lids there. I got a little bit happy with the upper lip there because I was correcting it, but really it doesn't need to be that dark. Let me see if I can get a little bit. The charcoal doesn't come off as easily with the eraser. It's just going to smudge it a little bit. Oh, look what I did. Try not to do that. So yeah, it is temperamental. You do have to be a little bit more careful with it, but you just really can't get this look any other way that I know of. I mean, maybe, I don't know. So, okay, I'm just carefully going in, cleaning that up. We want to get off any lines that we don't want permanent because we are going to be spraying this with a fixative so that when we do our painting portion, none of this will be smearing on us. So I'm not really worried too much about the eyes. Oh my goodness, it just keeps doing that. I keep touching just the corner of it into the nose. Okay, one of the things that you can do, and I will do this right now, just while I've got to take a clean piece of paper, place it over the top, make sure it does not move. So hold it down really firmly and press. That will get off some of that extra dust. Plus, you can probably use your, oh no, that's not, didn't print too much. It comes off better on the paper. I was going to say you could use this for something else, but it didn't really get that much off. But you can see it kind of does pick up a little bit of it. There's a little bit of the nose. Okay, let me see if I can get a little bit more of that off. Gotta love live TV. That's good. I'm going to color in the face a little bit and the lips, so I'm not too worried about the lips having black inside them because I will clean that up. I'm going to grab my baby wipes here. It's good to have these handy because your hands will get super dirty with charcoal, and I forgot and touched my phone, so my new phone case has charcoal all over it. So yeah, not a good, and it didn't really want to come off the phone case. Something about the plastic that I was using on the phone case. Yeah, so my phone case has charcoal smudges all over it. Okay, I'm using this baby wipe on her lips. That's getting it off a little bit. Cleaning up her nose. Okay, there we go. I'm happy. You're just being careful, keeping my, using kind of my nail underneath there to kind of clean up that bit that I smudged. Well, actually, I'm kind of glad that that happened because it probably will happen to you. It will happen even if you're being careful. So that's how you clean it up. And like I said, if none of the other things work, you can always go to the baby wipes or the disinfecting Clorox wipes. That will definitely get it off of your canvas. If you wanted to use Prismacolor colored pencils, those will work as well. They're a little bit waxy and they won't smudge like the charcoal does, so that's another option. I like the smudginess. You'll see when we do our hair that the smudges kind of are part of the look, so that's why I stuck with the charcoal pencils. But now for her chin, I'm just going to come around one side of it. I'm not going to fully flesh it out. And on this side, I'm going to do the same thing. Just kind of indicate that that is connected there, but I'm not actually connecting those lines. I don't know why. That's just kind of an artistic choice. So then there's the neck. Am I doing it again? Sorry. I keep doing that. I keep blowing on the mic. I'm not supposed to do that. Sorry. Bad, Angela. Sorry, everybody. I'm sure there's lots of...
Okay. You know, they don't want me to take over. So don't do that
so
again.
Don't do that again?
Because
okay.
they saw my drawing on the Facebook page this morning. Yeah.
Mark did a lovely drawing this morning on his computer to just kind of advertise.
Well, I'm concerned that everybody thinks it's a self-portrait. It really wasn't meant to be, but okay.
That's awesome. Okay, so here's the top of our head right here. So I'm going to bring the hair up and over and do some nice long lines. This is where I'm going to switch over to my pastel pencil. This is a Conte crayon. It's kind of the between a charcoal and a pastel. And I'm just going to fill in. Starting from this point, they're all kind of coming out from that spot. So if you see that, all of these lines are going to kind of cover over whatever's underneath. So all these hairs that are coming from this part of the head are not really being seen. The start of them, at least, is not being seen. Do some things coming down. And then some long sweeping lines. Curling it up just a little bit on the ends. So from here, they're going to kind of come in out from the ear. There's going to be some lines coming like from the back side of the head and from underneath. This part will be nice and dark. So you can color that in nice and dark. Just the nice thing about this is that it covers more quickly. I'm going to go ahead and put in her shoulder, even though we're not going to really draw it in. Technically, I want that about the same distance apart. Okay, I think that's good. And then I'll put some of the hairs kind of coming over her shoulders and swiping this way. So just above the eyebrow and curving in here and just kind of filling in most of it in. You can leave some gaps, especially along the edge here, to give it some wispiness. And we'll add some more lines later. And when we smudge it, it will kind of fill in some of these gaps for us. So get as close to that ear as you can, though. You want it nice and dark right there. This area is going to be kind of dark, too, so you can make that a little bit darker. Then this side is going to have the lines kind of curving down closer to the face. So, and they're going to curve in. I forgot to do my little mark for her shoulder blades there. You can see how doing this with the crayon or the charcoal is just a lot faster, a lot easier, kind of fun. I really like it because it's just kind of, I don't know, more quick. There we go. Just kind of want to make sure her face is balanced. That looks pretty good. Might bring these out a little bit more and create some darker spots where the hair might be a little bit thicker in places. Notice as I'm going out to the outside edges, I'm just flicking. I'm not drawing in real carefully. I'm going very quickly and just kind of trying to follow the basic shapes. I think that that's pretty good. All right.
So we got your 100 likes there.
Ooh, awesome.
So
do a little dance here in a minute.
make sure all the charcoal's off your fingers.
Yeah, definitely.
You know, put fingerprints all over it.
Definitely. Okay, I need to do this outside line there. Just... Okay, I think that that's pretty good. And I'm going to go ahead and... Am I doing it again? I know, I'm sorry.
No, just somebody was commenting about her missing an ear and then wondering if she was related to
Van Gogh.
Van Gogh. Yeah.
Well, this ear, I'm going to actually put some hairs over her face here, like this hair is kind of blowing in, but I'm not going to do that until I color in the face, and then I'll add them at the end, just some extra hair. So that's why she doesn't have an ear on that side, because her hair is going to be blowing in front of it. So, yeah. She's not related to Van Gogh, although he is one of my favorite artists. So...
And we have a request to show your original reference there.
There's the original reference, and sure, I did her long ways, but I wanted to do this canvas sideways profile, so that's why her hair is kind of taking up a little bit more of the composition in this one. But yes, you could do her hair kind of coming straight down if you wanted to do it on a long ways canvas. So yeah, that's up to you. On this one, I didn't show her ears at all. I just kind of brought her hair straight down. But I did the bangs pretty much the same way. Kind of this is the center point here, and just brought them sweeping in from this side and then kind of angling out. And then above her hair headline is kind of probably about right here. So her hair comes up and over and then curls down around her face. So good questions this morning. Or this afternoon, I guess it is, right? Okay, that's good. I'm going to go ahead and just press off a little bit. Let me get a clean paper here. I don't want any of this previous charcoal to rub off on my girl. I'm just going to try to get off any extra dust. That's all I'm doing here, because when I'm spraying, I don't want any of that dust to spray up and get in places where I don't want it to go. There, you can see that one was a really good print of it. Yeah, a lot of, yeah. It's actually really pretty, and it's, like I said, if you do it on paper, more of it comes off. This is kind of catching the canvas texture, so it's not getting as much of it off. Just make sure you do not move the paper, because it will smudge it everywhere. I have a big smudgy mess to clean up. And really the hair I'm not too worried about, but it's the face that you don't want any smudges on. Okay, ooh, there we got almost a full imprint of her face. I don't know if you can see that. All right, so what I'm going to use is, I've got this matte fixative. You could also use acrylic clear coat, and if you haven't purchased clear coat before, it is great. You can actually varnish your paintings with it, and you can also use it for things like this where you want to seal your pastels or other pencil works. So if you're going to go buy something, I would just recommend getting the clear coat, because then you can use it for varnishing too. The one thing about clear coat is that you cannot use it in humidity, because it will, oh, look at what I did. It will, it does this weird thing where it like looks fuzzy. It doesn't, it like picks up the water droplets from the air, and it makes your painting all kind of crazed. But if you do 2 coats, it usually gets rid of the problem. But so I wouldn't recommend using clear coat in the outside super humid conditions. So in your garage or something like that.
Somebody asked if you could use pen instead of pencil.
Yes, you absolutely can use pen. Yep. If you use pen, though, use a waterproof pen. So I mean, Sharpie will work. The thing about Sharpie is that it's not really light fast, so over the time it will fade, and you know, you don't want that, especially if it's exposed to any kind of light. It'll fade. So if you're going to do it with pen, I would suggest using like a Faber-Castell Pitt pen or something like that. Those are one of my favorite ones. You can even use acrylic markers if you wanted to. They have all kinds of acrylic markers now that work great for this kind of thing. So, all right, I think I've got it good. I'm just trying to make sure that I don't have any finger marks or anything like that on here. Just make sure I've got a nice clean surface here, and that I want to save this as is. Okay. Before I do it, I'm going to very gently smudge just a little bit. I'm very, very, very gently touching. And I'm going to smudge just a little bit on the hair section. So it's going to turn them kind of gray.
Okay. Somebody asked if they can use the Krylon Kmar varnish if you're in a high humidity area.
Probably. Well, I mean, any kind of spray is going to probably give you problems in a high humidity area. It makes it cloudy. But doing it in a garage or like a protected area sometimes can help with that. So whenever I've had to do it in the summertime, I'll usually go out in the morning or at a time of day when it's not as humid and do it in my garage. And I usually don't have too many problems with it. And usually if you put 2 coats, even if it does craze a little bit, if you put 2 coats on it, somehow the second coat is thick enough sometimes to overcome the crazing. So I covered a little bit of her ear too, just to kind of put it in a little shadow. I'm going to keep on going here, and don't get too much of this on her forehead, just a little bit. See how it's smudging out and just kind of creating this soft blend. Get as close to her face as you dare. Okay, I think that's good. And I've left, you know, some of it a little bit lighter than others. I think that that's probably what I want. Put a few more lines in here. Like her shoulders disappeared. Okay, I think that that's good. I'm going to go ahead and rubbing off that extra that I just drew on there. Okay. Okay, that's good. I think, not sure if I like it on that shoulder. I think I'm going to clean that off a little bit.
Somebody's asking if that's a damp cloth that
Yes,
you're
it's
using.
damp. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
We won't tell them what it's damp with.
I may or may not have used spit. Here, I've got my baby wipe now. Is that better?
No, but you probably have charcoal now on your tongue.
I probably do. You're probably right. Okay, so got some smudges. Just make sure you look at your whole canvas here for smudges. It just gets on everything. I don't know, something about it just wants to get, see, look at it, got in my fingernail polish there. It's not going to come out, so that's fine. I kind of messed up my nails last night anyways. They weren't looking too hot to begin with. Okay, I'm going to go in between here and just clean up. Try not to take too much time with this, but I want it to be just right when we go ahead and seal it. So just taking a little bit extra time. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and back in here now and just do in a couple more of these little hairs there over that shoulder. There we go. Okay, I'm getting really nitpicky here. I need to stop.
Yeah, you're getting quiet too because you're thinking.
I am thinking, yes. I'm
But
thinking
somebody
about
did
what I'm
ask,
doing.
would hairspray work as a sealer?
Yes, and I've seen that used. I think that Aquanet, that really cheap hairspray, is one of the better ones to use for it. And I don't know why, but I've seen Lindsay, the Frugal Crafter, use it on her show. So I have not used it, but I know that Lindsay has used it. So I believe.
Okay, then somebody asked that when you put the fixative on, will it preserve the drawing?
Yes, it preserves the drawing. It preserves everything. That's why I'm being so careful to get all of this off of here. You know, any little smudges or anything that I don't want saved, because it will certainly save it. Okay, I think that looks good. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. I'm going to shake up my can really well. And I'm spraying it indoors here. If you have a box, that's probably the best. I should have given this to you to do this earlier. If you have a box to place it in, that's best to protect your surface. I just usually put it in a cardboard box, but our carpet in this room is so messed up, it's going to get some spray on it, I think, because I forgot to bring a box in here. So I'm going to clean up my hands one more time. Okay, thank you.
Just don't spray the dog.
Yeah, don't spray the dog. When you're spraying, I'll go ahead and show it on here. I'm not going to spray because I don't want to get it on my camera. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. But you're going to hold it about 12 to 14 inches away and do a side swiping. So pretend I'm spraying here. You're going to side swipe it, not even that close. So you're going to be a little bit farther away and just go all the way across over the edges of your surface. So from side to side and over the edges like this, all the way across. Okay, so I'm going to do it really quick over here. Do 2 or 3 passes, and that's pretty good. That should be good. Mark's going to take it out and dry it in another room so that it does not fumigate the room. My dog's sneezing in the background. Scooter. You can hear him sneezing. Are you sneezing? Are Are you sneezing? Yeah. Let's go ahead and while we've got some time here, we'll get Stickman out and we'll put something on him today. So if you've never joined me before, you're probably like, that is the worst drawing that I've ever seen. No. Yes, we're doing Stickman. He probably ought to get some charcoal hair, but he's got some leaves going on. So I think I'm just going to give him a little bit of roses. So Stickman is our like mini mascot, and he gets additions every time we do a new show. So honey, I need the fan on in here too. I'm smelling the fumes pretty heavy. So I'm going to grab some Quinacridone Magenta and just give him some little roses. He is very solid in his masculinity. He's very comfortable with his masculinity, so he does not mind having some roses in his hair, I think. He's getting a flower crown. So he went to Paris a few weeks ago and got his scarf, and he's had a bird, and he got, this is not a pickle, this is a cactus. Pumpkins last week. If you didn't catch our pumpkin show last week, I'll show that project real quick since we're waiting on Mark. Can you spray, can you start the fan? Yeah, that's probably good enough. So, some more? No, that's fine. Okay. That's fine. It's still a little smudgy, but I think it'll be okay. No, it's fine. I'll just be careful. Until it cures, it kind of stays a little bit smudgy. So, and you may need 2 or 3 coats to really, really seal it, but it's fine. All right. So Stickman got his little roses on his head, honey. So Mark drew the original Stickman when we were at a museum, I think. When we were up at Crystal Bridges Museum in Bentonville, Arkansas, he was using Stickman and taking selfies with all the different artwork with Stickman. So
yeah, they had a special thing for kids to participate and draw something, so I had to get in with my skills.
Right.
There.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Get your skills shown.
Yeah, he got his picture taken with Rosie, the Riveter.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
He's a famous dude. He's got some serious skills, honey. If you haven't joined already, I have a Facebook group, which is a lot of fun, and you can, if you do any of my projects from my videos, you can share them with me on my Facebook group. And #1 rule is to be kind, no criticism or no critiques unless you're asked for, and if they are asked for, then the #1 rule is just to be nice about it. So, because sometimes the art community can be a little bit mean, especially for beginner painters, and we are all on this journey at different levels of learning, and you can't expect somebody who just started playing the piano to be able to play a concerto right off the bat. And same thing with painting. It's a skill like anything else. It takes a little bit of practice before you get comfortable with it. But that doesn't mean that you don't have the ability to get there. The more practice that you do, the better you'll get. So I'm just trying to show you some techniques and things that make it a little bit easier, things that I've learned along my journey that will maybe help you with your learning process. So now this is sealed, but this, I noticed that the MAC fixative still kept a little bit smudgy, so I'm still going to be a little bit careful, and what I'm going to do is set down a paper towel over the areas that I am not working on, just so that I don't accidentally put my hand in them and get it everywhere. Now, really, ideally, it should seal this completely, but for some reason, this fixative, I noticed this one on my project too, that it didn't completely get it. It may just be that it's not completely cured yet. But I'm going to use my 3/8 inch angle brush. The background color is titanium white. If you don't have, or unbleached titanium. If you don't have unbleached titanium, it is a Liquitex color. You can make something similar by mixing titanium white and yellow oxide or yellow ochre. Yellow oxide is just the transparent version of yellow ochre. So they're basically the same color. One's a little bit more transparent than the other. So I'm going to grab some white here, and I'm going to add some blush to her cheeks. Now, you're going to have like 20 parts, 100 parts of white to 1 part of this Quinacridone Magenta. You want it so light that you can barely tell that it is pink. Otherwise, she's going to look like she's, well, or she's a, you know,
she's truly an
woman
alien.
of ill repute.
Oh, okay.
You don't want her too blushed out. Okay, that might be a little bit light. I'm going to add a little bit of my background unbleached titanium to it just to warm it up. Okay, that is way too bright. I'm going to get it a little bit closer to her natural skin tone. There we go. We'll get that little bit of the unbleached titanium in there. We'll see if that's better. It's a little bit better, I think. You can always go darker with it, but it's a lot harder to kind of cover it over if you get it too dark. So I would start conservatively, and then you can always add more. So I'm just kind of tapping in and blending it out a little bit into her skin tone there, just a little bit along her cheek line. Let me zoom in a little bit. I'm going to grab a little bit more of this unbleached titanium. If you notice, I'm not mixing the entire puddle of unbleached titanium. I'm just pulling off a little bit from the corner and putting it on a plate, place on my plate where there's a little bit of room. Pick up a little bit of that Quinacridone Magenta. You could even use red for this if you don't have magenta. And I'm just going to tap in lightly. That white was a little bit bright. There we go. So I'm kind of doing like a little triangle area right here. Don't want it too far down on her cheek. Kind of stop where you get to the lips there. I might have gotten too low on it, so I'm going to go back in with my unbleached titanium and dab back over it. And if you get a hard line here where you're doing this, you can just do that. Grab your original color and tap back in with that. I'm going to put some on this side.
Is your brush wet or dry?
It's wet, but it's not super wet. Yeah, it's pretty dry. So, and the white just kind of helps brighten that up. It makes it kind of look like it's, I don't know, got a little bit of the light hitting it maybe, or something like that. You can see how now when it's darkening, it darkens when it dries. See how much darker that looks than this side. This side will dry darker once it starts to dry. That's why you will always want to go lighter with your colors than you think you need to with acrylics. Okay, adding a little bit more white on top. I'm going to wipe off my brush and grab my unbleached titanium, and right up here under the lashes there's a little bit of smudginess, so I'm just going to go back in with that and clean that up and soften up that transition line between the colors. And if you notice, I'm just kind of tapping, I'm not really pressing down very hard. Just a little bit of paint is coming off at each time on each pass, and that will help that blend to happen a little bit more naturally. It'll look a little bit softer than if you were to go with a lot of paint and go real heavy with it. Go a little bit farther down on this side. And I might add a little bit more later. We'll see. We'll let that dry a little bit. Let's do the lips. So the lips, I added a little bit of this red Cadmium Red Light to it so that they were a little bit more of a peach color. So these two colors together kind of make almost like a cherry red, and then we're adding white to that to soften it up. And I've still got the unbleached titanium underneath in my brush too, so it's kind of all merging together. We're going a little bit darker than our cheek color with this, and I'm just going to use the corner of my brush and just tap in my lips here, starting at the bottom. Tap in a little bit of color. Top lip, you can go almost to the top. And just left a little bit at the top clear. Now I'm going to grab some white and mix that in a little spot here. And tap in again now from the top down. Now this is where I can kind of clean up that little spot on my lips. Let me zoom in a little bit more. There we go. There where my line got a little bit thick, so I'm just going to tap in. Now try not to brush it side to side. If you tap it, it won't pick up as much as that charcoal, if there's any charcoal left to pick up. And you can kind of wipe your brush off if it's starting to pick up the charcoal pencil. Just using the angle brush with the line pointed down. If you want to, you can switch to a smaller brush if you're not comfortable using this larger angle brush. If you have a 1/4 inch angle, you could use that. Okay, so the top of the lip gets a little highlight, and then this little area right here between the lips gets a little highlight, right at the bottom of that bottom lip. Gets a little highlight there along the top edge. Might go back in. My paints are starting to dry out, so I'm going to spray them. Reactivate that color. It was starting to dry out. That's my darker color. I'm going to go back in and just kind of tap a little bit more of that back in along that line. And I want a nice bright highlight right there. You can also use your finger to kind of dab it off and blend it a little bit. There we go. I went a little bit over my line there, so I'm going to grab my colored pencil here and just put that back in. There we go. Okay, so that's about it for the lips. It's real simple, very subtle. I'm going to clean that out really well. Oh, sorry. I'm so sorry. I have a lot of mad people out there. Blowing out everybody's eardrums. Okay, I'm going to grab some of my background color here, and I'm just going to dab off underneath the nose here where there was a little bit of smudginess. And a little bit on the top here. Now I'm going to grab a little bit of white just on the tip of my brush. So I don't load it, I'm not loading it in all the way to the middle. Somebody's making comments.
No.
Oh.
No,
you're laughing at
I'm
something.
listening to the replay.
Oh, with me blowing. Is it pretty loud? Okay, so I'm going to just dab in a little bit on her chin and use my clean finger. Make sure your finger is clean. Dab in a little bit on her nose and tap it off with your finger. There we go. That's it. We don't want it too obvious. Just kind of doing a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to do it on her cheekbones here. And there. Using your finger to smudge it out a little bit. If it gets too dark, you can always go back in with some of your face color and soften it, but I kind of liked that sort of painterly look, so I left it pretty, left the brush strokes kind of showing. So that's just a personal preference. I'll put a little bit right here at the top of the lip, a little bit between the eyebrows. Oops, don't want to get it too. Let me grab my Unbleached Titanium and clean that up a little bit. My bangs got a little bit dark. You don't want her skin tone to be gray. You just want the hair to kind of look gray. So if you got too much on the forehead there, you can use this Unbleached Titanium to kind of clean it up a little bit. Here again, I'm just dabbing lightly. I'm not going through with very thick paint. Just small applications of paint. There we go. All right, good. Now she's going to also have a little bit of a highlight on the inside of her eyes right here. And here. So I'm going back into my titanium white, but still have that unbleached titanium on my brush, so it's not really super white. Just a little bit on the inside of her lids. Then on the lids themselves, I'm going to grab a little bit of Ultramarine Blue, and I'm going to mix with my white here. Very soft color. I've got the Unbleached Titanium in my brush still too. So it's it's just the barest blue tint, because you don't want her to look bruised. You just want this kind of bluish tint on her eyelids here. Just a little bit. Oops, picking up that charcoal. So I'm just going to grab my Unbleached Titanium and go up and tap over that. Yeah, probably if you're doing this at home, you'll have more time. I would probably do 2 or 3 coats of the fixative before you do this, and that way you won't have these issues with it still bleeding in to it at all. That fixative just didn't quite seal it all the way, so it's still picking up a little bit of the charcoal when I touch it. Okay, that's good enough, I think. So just a touch. I didn't go all the way down to the lash line. It just kind of came in over the top just a little bit. Very, very subtle. I'm going to use the same color. I might have to mix up just a little bit more of it. And we'll do along this edge of her cheekbone, just like kind of where the shadow might start. And then up underneath her chin here. And just pull down a little bit. I'm going to grab my Unbleached Titanium and feather out those edges so that they're not so obvious. You can clean that off your brush so that you're getting cleaner color. Like I said, if you tap it like this, you're kind of get sort of that softer blend. Oops, I was off camera there, honey. I was off camera. You know, you're supposed to tell me when I do that. You're obviously not watching what I'm doing.
I'll know after it's happened.
Okay, so just the barest little blue tinge, but that'll kind of give us a little bit of a shadow look. I can even put a little bit of that shadow in the hollow of her cheekbones there, maybe. All right, and then along this side of the face right here, just very, very light. I'm using the tip of the brush and barely dry brushing a little bit of a shadow just along that line. Maybe a little bit up here where the hairline is, shading the top of her head. Get a little bit more of the unbleached titanium to soften that up. There we go. Okay, might put a little bit over here. That's all we're doing for the face. Very subtle, simple. You could go back in. I might go back in with a little bit of white and put an extra highlight, just the, oops, too much water on my brush. Just a little bit at the top of the lid there where the light might be catching it. Just give it a little bit of a highlight. I'm going to emphasize, and you can go back in and emphasize some of your highlight areas. I actually like what I did on the cheeks and things, I think, so I'm not going to do too much. You can go back in with water and just soften up. If you dab it on and you want to soften up that area, you can, instead of wiping it with your finger, you can go back over with a little bit of water. That's another option. I think I need a little bit of highlight a little closer in on her cheek. Subtle differences. I'm just kind of making little tiny changes. And maybe a little bit on her lip right here. This is white I'm using. There we go. Tap that off with a towel. Good. Good. Okay, we're good. I think that that's plenty. I'm going to put a little bit of highlight on the top of the collarbone too, just slightly. Okay, I think I'm happy with it. Her nose is kind of got a spot on this side where the charcoal smudged, so I'm just going to go back in with my unbleached titanium right there and clean that up. Okay. Good. Okay, now we can do some color in her hair if you want. So if you wanted to tint it, you could tint with any number of colors. I used a little bit of blue in it, so I'm going to grab some Phthalo Blue and I'm going to make a wash with Phthalo Blue, a little bit of Phthalo Green to make sort of a teal color, and add just a tiny bit of white to sort of soften it. Now if you have mixing white like zinc white, you could use that. Since it's a transparent white, it would be even better since this titanium white is opaque. Both of these phthalos are a transparent color, so they will be a little bit of a softer or more of a transparent wash automatically. So I'm going to start in these darker areas here and just sort of set my brush right on that edge and pull out where I want my little bit of color to start. And you'll notice that it is picking up a little bit of that charcoal too. So we're just tinting. And like I said, you could leave this part out if you don't want to tint her hair, or you could use pink or purple or whatever color you fancy. Yellow would be beautiful, make her kind of blonde. You could use browns to make her more of a natural brunette. Just whatever you want. Have fun with it. Add a little bit over here. Just not getting it on the face, but I'm going right up against it. This is where the angle brush is nice because it's got that really fine point, so you can get it right up close to where you want to go. So I'm kind of keeping the darkest parts closer to her face. And then these outer areas, the light's going to be catching it in places, so I'm going to use this as sort of my shadow color. Now up at the top here, I'm just using very little bit of it and leaving some of the colors showing through, so it's not a solid color like it was down here. Just kind of using the edge of my brush and just drawing like we did with the pencil almost. Just to put a little bit of that blue up in other parts of her hair. Now I've got Phthalo Blue straight, and I'll put a few streaks of that in. So make it really dark in some areas. I'm just using this like a liner. Can you see this on camera okay? Yep. What I'm doing is it's dark enough? Okay. Put a few little... Whoop. Okay. I think that's good. I don't want it to go like too blue. I want it to be subtle, so... But you could go really dark blue if you wanted to, and just really make her very dramatic looking. It's just up to you. I think that that's good. And I might come back in with my charcoal pencil still and add a few more wispies, because I feel like it might be needing to be a little bit thicker in here. Let's start putting our flowers in. So I'm going to use my chalk to draw out my basic flower shapes. So we're going to do the center line in an arc like this at the top of her head, kind of following her face shape like that. So, and actually might come in a little bit closer to her face on the sides, like it's maybe a headband, right? If you want it to be more like a crown that's sort of setting on top, you could kind of come more shallow with it and do it like in this direction and have it lower on her head. It just depends. We're kind of doing sort of a headband look, so that it may be kind of coming off the edges here and sort of tilted on her head, so that the back part's not showing, but the top part is tilted this direction like that. Okay, then I'm going to do some large circles, and I'm going to do like 3 large roses, 1 smaller over here close to her face, and then fill in with some leaves. And then some smaller filler flowers here. Actually, let's do that. I didn't want it to look too uniform, so I wanted both sides to be a little bit different, just to kind of give it a little bit of a flow. If you are new to my channel and you haven't seen, I did a whole series of Bohemian flower vases. So these are the same style of flowers that I did in that project, and so you can look up some of those projects and see how to do these flowers more in depth. We'll do them today. We're kind of doing them pretty very, very loose, like a lot looser than I did in my other one. I'm going to bring it way out here. So I'm going to have some of them kind of flowing off this way. I don't know if you can even see this on the camera.
Yep.
You can? Okay. And I'll bring some in here. Okay, so I think that that's pretty good. I think I want there. You just kind of want to place them close together. All right, let's grab our Quinacridone Magenta. It's going to be our major flower color, and I'm going to add a little bit of white to it just to make it a little bit more opaque and softer pink. Quinacridone is a transparent color, and the difference between transparent and opaque is just that, you know, if you aren't familiar with those terms, artsy terms, opaque is solid, so it'll cover more solidly, and transparent will show through your colors underneath. So, what? Go ahead.
Someone asked if you could just do a quick close-up of the chalk flowers.
Yes. Zooming in here. Maybe not too close. I'll just pull this down so that when I paint it, it's a little closer all together. So there's one here, really long one, that's kind of spanning the gap between her part there. So it's going to go over the top of that. Then there's another 3 right here, and then these 3 are going to be our main roses. So, and I'm going pretty thick with my paint this time. So I'm gonna, because I want to keep it kind of loose and flowy. So I'm gonna grab some white and just have it really loaded up thick on my brush. The white's at the tip, and I'm gonna go ahead and do kind of a rose shape while I'm filling this in. So I'm gonna fill in mostly with this red, a little bit of the white, keeping it very loose, keep my edges uneven. So I don't want them to be like a perfect circle. I want them to kind of have some randomness around the edges, and that way it'll look like there's kind of flower petals. I'm going to pick up the white and sort of do some little C shapes. Now, like I said, if you want to do these a little bit more cleanly and have them be really perfect, you can check out the Bohemian vases. The first one that I did was the roses, and they were very structured, so they were a little bit more cleanly painted. These are kind of start in the middle, do like a little rounded areas in the centers, and then as you get toward the outside edges, you're gonna, here, I'll do this third one a little bit slower so that you can see what I'm talking about. So I'm starting with mostly the darker color, just to kind of get my rough circle shape. Picking up the white. Don't overblend it. You want it to be kind of streaky. Start in the center there and do kind of 2 overlapping shapes like that, like comma strokes, and then start kind of filling in around them with more brush strokes that sort of like that. That's it. That's all you need to do. This one I'm going to go back over here since this one is a little bit more messy. I'm going to do those comma strokes and add a little bit more white. We'll probably add a little bit more of the darker color to some of these. Once they dry, we'll be able to tell kind of what we need to do with them. So we'll let them dry a little bit. While they're drying, we will clean out the brush. If you wanted to keep the whole thing very, very soft and pastel-y, you could do your roses closer to the color of our lips here, and do them a lot softer pinks. So that's another option for you. And if you want to, we could go back in with a little bit of just the straight quinacridone and add it to the bottom of her lip, just a little bit, to kind of make it a little bit more dramatic and match it up. I just added a little bit of color, and now I'm going back in with some water. Maybe make it a little bit more closer to that same color family. Keep wiping off my brush so that I don't. There we go. I think that's better. It's a little bit closer to that. That color family.
People want to know if the fixative is dry yet, or is it still a little?
It's starting to dry, yeah. It's not smudging quite as much as it was. So, yeah. It's definitely starting to dry. It's still coming off a little bit in places, but I think it probably needs 2 coats, probably, in order to make it completely permanent. So, all right, so now I'm going to make some kind of orangey peach flowers. I'm going to use this Cadmium Red Light and some yellow. This is Cadmium Yellow Light, or medium. Cadmium Yellow Medium and Cadmium Red Light. And I'm mixing them together. I'm going to add some white to it. Just going to make a soft yellow or a soft orange color. You could also use cadmium orange. I'm going to grab some of this Quinacridone Magenta to it too and make it a little bit more pink.
Somebody asked if you paint the hair yellow, will it turn green with the charcoal?
It could, yeah, it could have a green tinge to it, but if you use an opaque yellow like cadmium yellow, it won't. I used yellow in this here, if you can see. So that's about as green as it'll go. That was the cadmium yellow there, and there. But this is, I had some turquoise in my brush for this part, so that's the green part, but this part was the yellow there. So it does read yellow. It's not like a soft yellow. So, I mean, if you're going for blonde, it's probably not going to look blonde. If you're going to go for blonde, you could use a brown colored pencil instead of charcoal, maybe. That probably would be a better choice.
Can you zoom out?
Yes. Let me zoom back in just a little bit. I'm going to keep doing these flowers, so I wanted it fairly close for the flowers.
Somebody asked.
Oh, okay. Yep. All right, so I've got the, I think that's about the color I want. It's kind of just a soft, buttery orange color. And you can use whatever color you want for your flowers. So if you don't want orange and you want to do them blue or turquoise or whatever color you want, you go for it. And like I said, I mean, there's different flowers that you could use. There's all kinds of, I show you how to do tulips and lilacs and daisies and these roses and all kinds of different flowers in those. I have 3 videos of the Bohemian vases. So you could use any number of those flowers and just mix and match them in here and create something really beautiful. So I just wanted to go with little rosebuds. I just thought I liked that idea. And so I'm doing little rosettes in her hair. Very simple. I think, let's see. I'm going to do one. Yeah, we'll do one over here. I'm just doing a rough outline right now of the flower shape. So there's circles, but they're kind of uneven edges. You might need 2 coats on this because it's wanting to pick up that charcoal color, so it's turning them a little bit gray. Let's put one over here. So I'm just stopping to look and kind of see my flow and the balance of my colors. I think I like that. Might put one more in here close to her face on this side, down low. Just try not to be too matchy-matchy with it. Maybe let's do one more. Let me think. I feel like it needs a third one over here somewhere. Let me just put another one right in here. Little small one. There we go. Okay, now I'm going to grab my yellow and my white. And I haven't cleaned out my brush, so I've just got kind of, it's very messy. Right, it's really super thickly loaded, and I'm just going to dab some little dots and semicircles in my flowers. That's all we're doing for these roses. They're super simple, so don't get too caught up on the details. Just kind of have fun with it and sort of dot for the center maybe, and a few lines indicating some rotation. And that's all we're doing.
We have a person, Dagu, I believe. Sorry if I'm pronouncing the name wrong, from Pakistan watching us.
Wow, that's awesome.
So we got Australia and Pakistan and Scotland and Sweden, and
Amazing.
Of course the U.S.
I think we've got a lot of Canada viewers too.
Yeah.
Canada and... Okay, I'm going back in with my softer orange now and just kind of softening up some of these, maybe adding some little outer petals. See that? Very simple. You can get a lot more detailed with these if you want to. I kind of wanted to keep them very, very impressionistic. These are very like loose flower. It's amazing what your eyes will kind of fill in the rest of the details. You know, you get the circular thing and you get a few of the petals kind of going in the right direction, and your brain sort of fills in the rest for you. You don't have to get too super detailed with it. And this is kind of a fun project for beginners because that way you kind of takes out the fear, you know, that you're doing it wrong. You're going to come up with your own sort of way of doing these flowers, and yours is going to be just as good as mine. It's just kind of the fun of it.
Yeah, we also have people from Belgium and Brazil,
wow,
and UK, so we're all over the world today.
That's amazing. That is too cool. Yeah, I never in a million years thought that we would be meeting people from all over the world when I started doing these videos. It just, I had no concept at all. I'm making a turquoise with the green, Phthalo Green and Phthalo Blue. I'm going to go a little bit more on the green side just so that it's a little bit more kind of a leafy color. And you could use Phthalo Green if you don't want any of the blue. I like a teal color. I'm kind of stuck on the teal thing, so you don't have to do yours like the same colors. You could use yours like a bright green if you wanted to instead. This is where if you wanted to put some more bangs in with your pencil, do it before you start putting your leaves in, because this is going to kind of set it in stone here. I'm going to do a smaller one right here. I'm using the angle brush, the tip of it, to just draw the outside edge of my shape, and then I'm just kind of pushing it down a little bit to kind of plop in the color in the middle. So let's put one out here. If you separate your leaves a little bit, you can kind of put a little stem there to sort of help that transition. I'm just doing sort of a, I don't know, it's not a teardrop shape really, it's kind of pointed on either end. So let's see, let's do some leaves up this way. We're getting close to the end here. How long have we gone today? Almost 2 hours. Wow. I get going on these and I just don't even...
You just lose yourself in the painting.
Complete track of time. I really thought this would be a shorter video today, but apparently not. I think I took a long time drawing it, just kind of wanting to explain how to do it. And I will have just the drawing portion available to watch in a separate video eventually. I didn't get it done this week. I get vertigo sometimes, and so I had a really bad bout of vertigo this week. It kind of threw me for a loop.
Somebody wants to know, why are you mixing your own teal when you can buy a pre-mixed teal?
I do have the pre-mixed teal. I just I'm going to be well, I was just doing a limited palette today. But you could use your light ultramarine blue for the face. You could use your light magenta for the cheeks. You know, if you have some of those colors that are pre-mixed, for sure. So yeah, this is just basically your teal color. So if you already have that color, just use that.
Okay, so it's just that if you're using colors for other colors in the painting, you just limit mixing, and so you're not putting out 50 different colors.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Plus, I used a little bit darker version of the leaf color, so this is a little bit darker than the teal. The teal color that I usually use is a little bit lighter, but for the leaves, I wanted it a little bit darker. Okay, so I'm looking at the motion here, and my leaf is pointing down here, and so I want to do another one that's kind of bringing the motion back up. So we'll do one kind of that way, a little bit smaller one maybe. Okay, and if you want to, I listed the number 4 round in the description. You could use that instead of this angle brush if you're more comfortable with it in these tighter spaces. So that's just a personal preference. Whatever you want. Actually, I think I want to do another one. See if I can fit a leaf in right here. There we go. Well, shoot, if we've been going this long, I'm just going to go ahead and take my time and enjoy this. Slow down, just going to enjoy the ride, right?
You can put some music on in the background.
Yeah, I know.
But you need to keep talking, though.
I know, I do. I get quiet when I'm getting into deeper and deeper into it. My voice gets softer, start sounding like the NPR ladies. Yeah. This is... Give her a breathy sounding voice. This is Rachmaninoff in A minor. We saw a comedian talking about that. It's really funny. Okay, so there we go. That's looking good. I'm liking it. I'm liking the flow. We'll put some leaves down here to kind of balance it out. Really like having the hair kind of flowing the way we did it. Kind of gives it a neat look. And, you know, if you're following the rule of thirds, you know, our third is hitting right smack dab in the middle of this eye right here, which is the perfect focal point part, you know, to do. So if you split your canvas in thirds this way and thirds this way, this is our focal point right there. We hit it smack dab where we wanted it. That's just kind of a visual trick that painters, artists use to kind of help composition. So I could have put her in the middle of the canvas, but you lose a little bit of that kind of compositional flow by doing that. So I do things straight in the middle of my canvases, though. Sometimes I like my red oak tree. He's right down in the middle. So it's just a preference. Sometimes I do it. Sometimes I do what I want to. You're the boss of your paintings. You can do what you want. Rules are there to kind of help guide you, but, you know, we all kind of have our preferences. So you do what seems good to you on your painting. Doesn't have to be just like the way I do it. All right. Nice big one right here. I'm loving these leaves. This is really fun.
Everybody's commenting how beautiful it's coming out and the colors.
So pretty.
Yeah.
Okay, let's do another little leaf right here. So I'm just kind of paying attention to the flow of my leaves. So if you notice, kind of these ones in the middle are sort of going up, right? As they come around, they're starting to turn, and come down. So that's deliberate. So I'm not having any leaves, you know, facing in a weird direction up at the top here. You know, I'm kind of using them. That's kind of adding to that flow. So as I get around here, my leaves are turning, and going around this way. And then as I get down to the bottom, they're kind of curving down. So that's deliberate. All right, I don't know, I think it's pretty good. I'm going to add some white to this now and add some highlights to my leaves. And I'm just going to do like a small brush stroke on the part that might be facing up. So our light source was coming from this direction, right? Because we've got our shadows coming down. I've got paint on her chin. We've got our shadows on this portion of the neck and face. So any of the leaves that are facing that direction will get the highlight. So that one's kind of right in the middle. You can, I don't know, choose which side you want. I'm just setting my brush down and pulling and lifting so that it's just kind of doing a little bit of a highlight on one half of my leaf. I'm going to make some blue flowers. So I'm going to use my Ultramarine Blue for this, because the Ultramarine Blue is a little bit more on the red side of the spectrum, so it'll kind of make a more of a purpley blue. I kind of want my blue flowers to have a little bit more of that leaning. Plus these are the same colors that I used in my boho flowers, so she'd go right next to the vases just fine. You could even do her background in a different color and just paint in her face with this color if you wanted to. So I'm just doing pointing my brush down and dabbing little blue dots. That's all I'm doing here. Dab, dab, dab. Kind of fill in some of the spaces in between. They're not really connected to anything, so don't worry about that too much. I'm leaving a little bit of space in between. Kind of using them to direct the flow of the color, so I might put a little bit kind of coming in on her face. Oh, I forgot to do my little hairs coming over her cheeks. I need to do that still. All right, that's good. I'm going to do some in white also. I feel like I want some white dots. If I can find a little bit of clean white there. Well, I have to put out some more. Just by making pressing down a little bit harder when I do my little dots, I can get more. I still have blue in my brush. Let's turn to my white blue. Oh well. Added a little bit of water just to make it a little bit more easy to dab. I'm going to go over the top of some of my flowers with this and leaves with this color, this white. Then I'm going to do it a little bit more sparingly, maybe. Not as many places as I did my blue. Okay. Getting close. Let's go ahead and grab my charcoal pencil here. I'm going to pull in some of these little wispy hairs, like they're kind of coming in over her cheek there. Maybe not that many, but I don't like this one being so close to her mouth. Okay. I'm going to darken up a few of these areas, add a few more of these. Since we smudged out our lines, you might not have some of these as dark. So I'm going to just darken up so that it's more of a clump of hair going off there. Maybe make another clump right here. Okay. I think we're almost done here. Okay, so to finish it off, all I did is I outlined some of my leaves and flowers with very rough outline of charcoal. Did some stems in the leaves, but I just kind of did these loose outlines. If you don't like this, you can leave it out. You can add some little charcoal marks on the inside of some of the flowers to sort of define them a little bit. Do this quickly, just kind of a found that the kind of the faster that I did it, the more expressive the lines were. So you can be kind of more careful with it if you want it to be, but I sort of liked the looser quality. If your paint's dry, you know, and you make any lines that you don't want, you can always go back in and erase them. You know, I wouldn't use the, you can just use baby wipes or something. I wouldn't use the Clorox wipes on these colored paints just because your paint's still too wet. It would lift it. So, and then I'm going to darken up her eye line there just a little bit more. Really darken up that lash line. Okay, so at the end of this, you will definitely, you know, before you touch anything, go in and spray this really well with a couple of coats of clear coat to seal it. And I think we're done. What do you think? Is there anything else we need to add to her? I just like the look of the line drawing. Like I said, you can go back in and, you know, make it your own and get a little bit more detailed if you want to. You could go in and actually I might do that just a little bit, pick a couple of colors. And what are you laughing at? Oh, I'm sorry, Mona. Did I blow again? I didn't even know I'm doing it. This whole thing is going to be a lot of, I don't know. Whoops.
A lot of what?
Do that. Well, I don't know. I probably need to do a time-lapse version without the blowing. Redub the audio on it. So, let's do a little bit of like a hint of red down here at the bottom. So I'm going to grab some Quinacridone Magenta and make a really, really light wash. If you're worried about the color binding, you can add a little bit of airbrush medium or something like that to it. But I'm going to just add a little bit of this to the edge here of my painting. Use a paper towel to sort of dab it off. Gonna give it a little texture. It's picking up the charcoal color. I kind of don't mind that. So you can see here, you got to be careful. I'm getting it in my charcoal drawing there, still too fresh. There we go. Would keep it away from your drawing as much as possible. Just do it in the corners of your painting. You could have done this before we even started the painting portion. That probably would have been better. So I just kind of like having a little bit of color in my corners sometimes. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this pink. And just dab off the transition so that it's not too noticeable. Let's put some up here in this corner too. Might even splatter this if you wanted to. Adding a light wash. Start with the color up against the edges where you want it darkest, and then as the color kind of comes off your brush, it'll sort of blend out. And then you can use your paper towel to dab it. If the paper towel is dry, this paper towel is dry, you can wet it down if you really want to remove some of the paint color. So that's up to you. But
so then, will you be sealing the painting afterwards?
yes, for sure. I will be giving it a couple of coats of sealer to seal in all of this, especially the...
Do you need to let the paint dry before you seal it?
Yeah, you can let it dry overnight and then seal it, you know, the next day. Yeah, it's a good idea to let the paint cure a little bit. It takes about 24 hours to 48 hours for acrylics to cure. So, depending on the kind.
And for the people joining us late, I mean, we still have people coming in here. They want to see what Stickman looks like now. They missed
they missed Stickman?
Yeah. Yeah.
He got some flowers today. He's very secure in his manhood. He's such a mess. Holy moly, we're running out of room. Okay, so, I mean, you could leave out the, you know, distressing of the canvas. If you want a more clean look, that's just a personal preference. So, I don't know if I like it any better with or without it. I kind of am ambivalent. It's definitely cleaner. So, anyhow, thank you so much those who have watched it today, our marathon painting session. But I hope you enjoyed this little boho girl. Yeah, like, subscribe if you haven't already subscribed to my channel. And we will be doing another live show next Saturday. I don't know what we're going to do yet. Maybe a landscape. I haven't really decided. Something probably fall themed. So thank you so much for watching today, and I will see you next week.